Hi, I'm Linda Gemlick, Business Development Manager for UFS. I joined Team UFS last month, and what a month it's been. Prior to joining UFS, I was a banker for 35 years. During my career, I faced many economic challenges, but obviously nothing compares to our current situation. Having been a banker, I couldn't help but wonder what bankers are facing as we're moving through the COVID-19 crisis. I reached out to 3 bankers recently to hear their experiences. I'm sharing those recorded conversations with Team UFS and the UFS community so we can continue to learn and gain valuable insight. Well, we're definitely living in extraordinary times. We're all challenged with finding ways to move through the changes in our communities, our work, and our personal lives. How has this impacted you personally? How has it changed your routines?
It changed it a little bit because of the social distancing rules. We've spread some people out, so I'm in a different location from a work standpoint. So yeah, we've got some of our folks working remotely like so many others do. The home routine's a little different. My wife's actually a banker as well, not in a retail sense, but more operational. So she's home and trying to homeschool kids at times. And so yeah, just all the challenges that so many other people are experiencing, during this time. So, but the culture at the bank is fantastic, and it's been fun as the challenges have come along to just see kind of how we handle it, and it's been good.
Gosh, it took my fast-paced world filled with business lunches and events and full calendars down to something. I've got 2 young kids that luckily we're still kind of staying in a routine with them, but been able to spend a little bit more time with them at home, which has been a really nice benefit to it. But it's completely changed the pace of everyday life and work, and in ways that you would have never thought were possible.
It has certainly changed. Right before all of this started, my family and I were in Mexico on vacation. And so right when I got back, started the stay-at-home order. And so I needed to work from home the first 2 weeks because I was quarantined since I was out of the country, just self-quarantined.
Sure.
And then, my husband's a teacher. He's teaching classes from home. My children are doing online school and working from the office now, which is good. I have a lot of people in my teams working here at the bank, so it's good for me to be here.
Yeah. Well, as your family's experiencing it, we've had work life and personal lives definitely collide with the work at home and school at home type of situations, and you are definitely experiencing that. So,
working at home, it can be challenging. My husband was just trying to ask my family if they wanted grilled cheese, yelling up the stairs, and of course, everyone on the phone call at work got to hear that too. So.
We do have a great deal associated with these home environments that we're working from. And I think we need that. We definitely need that at this time. And we shouldn't be embarrassed. I think everyone's just embracing it and going with the flow.
Yes, agree.
Well, one thing, and Nancy will appreciate this, and Stacy to some degree as well. Mike, maybe not as much, but I'm a hugger. And I'm known as a hugger. And so when you have to be 6 feet away from people, it's just not good. You don't get to hug them. And so Mike's smiling right now. I don't know if Mike's ever let me hug him or not. But Stacy, I get hugs every time. Nancy, I get hugs every time. And so yeah, that's kind of cramped my style too. So.
And yes, there has been that impact in our personal lives. What has become so natural, if it's not the hug, it's the handshake. And for myself, I felt a bit awkward in situations now. And I sure do hope, there's been individuals that have said, maybe this is going to change permanently, but I sure hope it doesn't. I think that interaction is extremely important.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for sure.
So as an essential employee, a banker, working for an essential company, of course, in our banking community. How has this changed? How has it impacted the bank, and how have your customers reacted to this new closing the lobby doors and limiting hours perhaps, and just being open for drive-through traffic?
I think at first there was fear. How is this going to change my access to my funds? How is this going to change, my ability to do banking or come into the bank? But now I think we've seen that people understand that we're here. We're committed to them. We're committed to helping them. We've certainly kept our drive-ups open. Our lobbies are open with restrict access. People have to make sure that they're making an appointment if they're going to come in. We're asking them all of the questions, if they're traveling or if they're symptomatic. But at the end of the day, it as a community bank, it takes you back to that realization that we're here for the community. We're an essential business. We have a responsibility to keep ourselves safe so that we can show up every single day and keep this bank running for our customers, for our employees, for everybody who's going through tougher times than what we are right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, just like so many of us, lobbies are closed, and so we're having to learn to probably do what we should have been doing a lot of lately anyways, just talking about these remote services, talking about online banking a lot more. It's going to be really interesting to me to see longer term or midterm how this whole thing has an effect, because I think we can start to make the argument from a retail perspective that why can't we be 8 to 5 like so many other people, because we're forcing ourselves to use technology, and so it'll be interesting. But yeah, we've had to adjust just like loan closings and everything else. It's funny to see how people respond. We live in Arkansas and I think we're the 34th most populous state. So we don't have a ton of people. We haven't shut things down, stay-at-home orders. I think we're one of the very few states that hasn't done that. And it's worked for us. Our communities are listening, and so that's been really good. But loan closings at title companies in the parking lots and tents, watching people from the window sign so we can notarize documents, is something that we're doing. Obviously, a lot of e-signature type of stuff, that's another thing that we're probably going to have to get comfortable with in a hurry, and we'll continue to probably use some of those same business practices a lot more frequently in the future. But I'm most excited to see how it's going to affect our retail type of thinking with hours and staffing, and where everybody thinks they've got to be open a little early before everybody goes to work and a little later after they get off. And hey, I get it. I'm a community banker for almost 30 years, and I understand why we used to think that way. But anymore, I think we've got to start to change our mindset a little, and maybe this will be the thing that helps us do that.
Yeah, I agree. The technology's always been there, a wonderful solution. But now that it is the top of the list for doing business, if it's not only the retail environment for technology within banks, it's the way we've been interacting. Even through video conference, we've seen an uptick in that. So you're correct. I'm also very intrigued on what this is going to mean for our future and the changes that will take place.
Yeah, we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah. So as we look at, the banker's role now, bankers are being called upon to help small businesses through the SBA's payroll protection program. Could you share the experience that you've had with the program?
It was a little bit like drinking through a fire hose at first. When we found out the program was coming out, a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. And I think that's, the same thing that most banks were faced with. We're getting inundated with questions from our clients, wanting access to this money. We had a hard time getting access to the SBA website. We had a hard time getting the answers that we needed on documentation and process. But we feel pretty fortunate that we cranked out, 3 solid days of really hard work of doing the research, going through and getting access to everything that we needed to. We developed manual process out how we were going to process these applications, get them through, the queue. And ultimately, we've come out on the other side. They just closed the applications this morning, it looks like. So, we've successfully processed, all of our customer requests, a couple of non-customer requests, more than we thought we'd get through, quite honestly. So we feel pretty successful on the other side of it, but going into it, it was very scary. It was a lot of questions and not a lot of answers, like I said. But, I think we had a really great team that jumped in and did a great job of pulling it all together.
We've been hearing that time and time again. We're really seeing everyone step up and do more, just join in a team effort to get the job done. And that truly is speaking very highly of our community banks.
We're, a $600 million community bank. We've made, I think we had a call this morning. I think we're up to right at 250 loans we've made in about a week for $33 or $34 million worth. And so it's been crazy busy. We initially, when we were talking through how all of this was going to work, we thought we were going to use a service provider to help us because of the volume. We knew the volume was going to come, and well, the LSP wasn't quite ready, and somehow we figured out that E-Tran module was working on SBA on a Friday night late. So this will be 2 weeks ago, this coming Friday, last Friday. So, we had people working Saturday and Sunday. I think we made like 40 or 50 loans over that first weekend. And so it's been really to watch our team come together. No egos, whatever you need us to do, whoever you are, just time to get in and get after it. So we kind of this team A and team B, and so team A is the one that gathers all the applications and supporting documentation and puts it into a packet and then scans that and sends it off to the team B, and team B is the team that inputs it into the E-Tran SBA system. And yeah, it's been nuts. And now we're in the process of starting to close a lot of those loans. And but hey, I think, and the thing I've said to our team a couple times is like, it's a chance for us to show off, like as community bankers, and we're doing that. And I know a lot of our peers are doing the same thing, and it's just cool because the customers are so grateful to be able to take advantage. And our government has stepped up. They're in a tough spot. I would not want to be the people that are having to make these decisions, because I'm not really sure how we're going to pay for all of this at the end of the day. But we've had to prioritize some things, and small business is a huge priority. And to see the government step up, put some stuff into play. It's been very fluid. I know it's been challenging to get through the information because it seems like it was changing daily. But yeah, when you get to the end result and the customer's like, you mean I get 10 grand, and if I spend it the right way, I don't have to pay it back? And it's like, yes. And they're like, oh my gosh, you people are great. Like, we did anything, we helped, but yeah, it's been a very rewarding experience too.
Oh, that's so wonderful to hear. It's great to hear what's happening for the small businesses, and also how the teams are coming together within banks to get the job done. So that is just great to hear. Thank you for all that you've been doing. So in closing, what are one or two key takeaways for leadership during these challenging times?
Yeah, well, I think we've got to see this go into play. Like I've always said, kind of through my career, my dad would teach me this, like, Brian, just put your head down and work. Don't worry about who gets the credit. And I think that's one thing that we've said a lot is, and that's a way to show leadership, is just, that's my big one takeaway. Because like, we don't make 250 loans and it'd take us 5 months to make that, 4 months to make that many loans. We did it in a week or 10 days. And so like, yeah, just put your head down, be part of a team, do what you're asked. Don't worry about who's getting the credit. And then I think probably the other thing, and we're learning about this as we go along, is just the communication piece. That's huge. And there's no way to say there's too much communication. I mean, you can't just assume, oh, well, they'll probably figure that out. I've had 2 situations today. It's like, hey, I know you told me something 2 days ago, Brian, of when you think my customer is going to get the money, but could you tell me again, has anything changed? So just communicate as frequently as you can, and just work your tail off, and don't worry about who gets the credit, and it'll all be good.
Well said. Well said.
I think the other thing that I've really started to think more about is, what lessons can we learn from this whole process, whether it's how to prepare yourself for a pandemic, whether it's taking some of the liberties of wearing jeans every day, or, being able to work remotely and work at home, knowing that you can get a lot done at home. And how do we carry that forward into the future of our culture and our bank? Those connections that we've created with our customers in this time of need, how do we hold on to those things and not just move past this as though it was a blip on the radar? These things are going to be long lasting. And I think whatever we can do to capitalize and learn from these things is going to be really important.
Well, on behalf of Team UFS, I would like to thank the three of you for sharing your insights and experiences. We also want to thank our entire UFS community for the work you're doing to help your customers and your communities in these challenging times.